It's the Andrew and Troy show here on OX Gold for your Friday morning as we check out the latest breaking news with the wonderful people from Star Observer. Joining us on the phone is the editor of said magazine, Elias Jahshan. Elias, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well for this Friday. Fun one. It's almost the weekend. Any big plans?
No, nothing at this stage. What about you?
I think a little bit of sleep this weekend because, of course, today, for those who may not know or may not be in the printing game, today's our print deadline for the magazine to go to print for the next monthly issue. So we're in for a big night.
Yes. I'll probably be sleeping. Well, I'm guessing you'll be sleeping it off as well. So, yes, no plans at this stage on my end.
Nah, none whatsoever. But more importantly, Elias, is to check out what's been breaking this week. Firstly, heading down to Canberra, where the wonderful people from PFLAG have head on down there to meet some politicians.
Yeah. They all met up in Sydney on Sunday and hopped on a bus or two and went down to Canberra and met up with a few politicians on Monday.
Yeah.
It's just part of the ongoing campaign to bring about marriage equality for their children. And the PFLAG, they're a force to be reckoned with.
No one messes with a riled up mother.
I beg your pardon?
No one messes with a riled up mother.
Exactly. And you know what? And like that is, they do have present a really strong argument in that marriage equality is about family, and it is about making everyone in the family feel equal like everyone else in the family.
Yeah.
And it's also about rainbow families and children of same-sex parents and letting their parents have the same recognition as other parents. And the national spokesperson of PFLAG, Shelley Argent, is quite well known. She's very, very well connected in politics, and politicians respect her from all sides of the political spectrum. So yeah, PFLAG are definitely a force to be reckoned with, and their campaigning is just tireless, and you've got to admire them for that.
Good on them. And while we're down in Canberra, Warren Entsch has been speaking with Tony Abbott.
Yeah, as you know, Warren Entsch is quite a prominent Liberal backbencher. Excuse me. And earlier this week, ABC News reported that he had been in discussion with Tony Abbott, and Tony Abbott gave him a guarantee that should a plebiscite be held, and should that plebiscite on marriage equality be successful, then he guaranteed that legislation would be introduced. The reason why I guess this made news is because a plebiscite is not legally binding. It's not like a referendum where the results have to be implemented.
Yeah.
A plebiscite is essentially just like a national public vote or poll or pop quiz just to see the general feel of something, and it's up to the MPs to see if they want to take it on board. So this guarantee from Tony Abbott, I guess, there's nothing in writing from that, and I haven't seen anything from coming out of Tony Abbott's mouth publicly to confirm that he said that to Warren Entsch. But I guess at this stage it's a matter of wait and see if he'll actually deliver on it.
And at least it's sort of on the record now. Not from Tony Abbott, but at least Warren Entsch has come out and said this. It's on the record, so we can always refer back to it. Just with your work with Star Observer, you're very connected with the community. What is the general response from the community about a plebiscite?
The vast majority of community members are opposed to it.
Yeah.
Simply because it's the Parliament. There's absolutely no need for it. It's the waste of taxpayers' money to hold a plebiscite. And that money that is spent on the plebiscite could easily be spent on other areas such as LGBTI mental health or HIV prevention methods such as PrEP. They're estimating the plebiscite would cost about $160 million if it were held on its own, or $40 million if it were held during the next federal election.
Look,
either way, members of our community are quite aware that that's a waste of money.
Yeah.
MPs should be doing it. It's their job. They should enact this or amend the Federal Marriage Act to make it make marriage equality a reality.
Yeah.
So it's all in all, it's quite. I've rarely, if ever, seen anyone say that it's something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Look, and I think another worry from our community is that it will provide the biggest megaphone ever, the biggest platform ever for anti-marriage equality campaigners to
exactly.
express
I was
their
just about to say
yeah.
that. Without having a crystal ball, surely this has got to work against us, because if we do get a plebiscite, which none of us want, well, I can't speak for everyone, but I assume the majority of people don't want a plebiscite. I see it biting us in the arse by people going, look how much tax-paying dollars you've now wasted on this. And they will point the finger back at us, not at the government, but at the LGBTI community at wasting taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, especially if the MPs decide not to take it on board, because, like I said before, a plebiscite is not legally binding at all.
And people will just vote against it, say, well, you know what, screw you guys for wasting our money, we're not going to give you equality. The last time Australia had a plebiscite was when we voted on deciding to change the national anthem from God Save the Queen to Advance Australia Fair, even though the plebiscite was successful in 1977, I think, was when Malcolm Fraser was Prime Minister. Even though the plebiscite back then was successful and Advanced Australia Fair was the most popular option on the plebiscite, it wasn't until 7 years later when Bob Hawke was Prime Minister that he made it the official national anthem. Yeah.
So, this plebiscite, even if it were successful, it could easily just be another delaying tactic. It's just a waste of time, waste of money. The politicians just need to get on with it.
Of course. All right, we've got a few quick stories to get through because we're so out of time. The military, they've had their first Pride Ball. Yeah,
pretty much representatives from the Army, from the Royal, from the Royal Australian Air Force, and from the Navy. They all converged at the Australian Maritime Museum in Sydney last weekend for the first ever military Pride Ball. It was organised by DEFCLIS, which is, I can't remember what DEFCLIS stands for, but it's essentially the LGBTI service arm of the Australian Defence Force.
Now, we did chat before you went to this, because you went to the event. Big question, of course, is did you get me the number of a hot military man?
No, I didn't.
Let's head up to Brisbane, where the Brisbane Council have been doing a lot more to support the LGBTI community.
Yeah. Brisbane Council's come a long way in the past year or two. They've just decided to. There's a possibility that Brisbane City might get its own rainbow crossing. That's the big thing that came from that. And they've also decided to establish an LGBTI advisory committee. And it's just basically a bunch of LGBTI community members who advise the council on LGBTI issues that matter to the city.
Look, as long as it's not a friendship group, I'm all for it, as long as it's not a friendship group. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal because Brisbane, I think I told you this before, Brisbane City Council's regarded as the largest city council in Australia in terms of geographical size. And I mean, it's bigger than the City of Sydney, it's bigger than the City of Melbourne. So,
of course.
But in terms of how much money they get, I don't think they get anywhere near as much as the City of Sydney.
No.
But yeah, it's quite a big deal. And
if they do get the rainbow crossing, what a giant FU the Queensland community is going to give to us here in Sydney.
Yeah. And you know what? And Brisbane is about to celebrate its annual Pride Festival next week, and a part of council has decorated one of their buses that goes to a very big, very visible area of Sydney. That bus is all rainbow colours.
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be there for Pride. It was launched in time for Pride, but it's going to stay there for at least a year or so. So. They're just it's a big stamp of visibility for the Brisbane community.
Beautiful. And finally, because we've got to get this one in because it's a topic close to my heart, mainly because I wrote the article, to Kentucky, where controversial clerk Kim Davies, well, we all know the story. I'm sure everyone's been following the story. We haven't actually spoken about it here on the show. She was refusing marriage licenses. She got arrested. She went to jail. She was then released. But now there's an interesting twist to this saga.
Yes, because when she was released, she came out on stage triumphantly with a big crowd, and anyway, she did a speech and whatnot. But when she came out on stage, the background music that was being played was Survivor's "Eye of the Tiger,"
which is a 1982 classic.
Yes, that's right. Yes. It's definitely one of the all-time favorite classics for many people. And it's been used many times for campaigns and stuff like that.
And of course made famous by the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
The same year.
Yeah. And the songwriter of that song, who's also part of the Survivor band, he is considering taking Kim Davis to court and suing them for $1.2 million for unauthorized use of that song at the thing. And he was just really pissed off that they used their song, because he's made it clear that Survivor and the band members don't really associate with Kim Davis and her type.
Exactly. Frankie Sullivan is the lead guitarist and the main songwriter from Survivor, but this is not the first time that Survivor has actually sued for the use of their song.
They did it last time in 2012, I think.
Yeah.
When the then Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich, I think
that's how you pronounce it.
He used it for one of his campaigns, and they weren't too happy about that back then either.
No, because they didn't agree with his politics. But it is one of those powerful songs that gets used a lot, especially motivational, because it's the whole Rocky up and down those, Rocky Balboa up and down the stairs, empowering himself before the big fight. And I guess people use that all the time. But I guess, if they can sue, which they've never actually been successfully sued for the use of a song in a public space, because the 2012 legal case was settled out of court, but it would create a huge precedent in the future for if they actually successfully sued. While they're only, and it was reported by TMZ, so we can't really hold that to accountability whether or not they're going to sue or not. It's just it's alleged they're going to sue, or they're considering a lawsuit. If they did, I think sue,
America's copyright laws are different to Australia's copyright laws. As far as I'm aware, in Australia, you can use a snippet of a song in a public space, but if you're going to use a whole song, you have to get permission and pay for that copyright privilege.
Yeah, APRA laws.
And I'm not exactly sure what the copyright laws are in America, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's similar to that. But from what I understand, she came out using more than just a snippet of the song.
They play the entire thing.
And there was a big crowd there, so essentially. Because there was a big crowd, essentially.
You can see how it was how the band could think their song could be misconstrued as a support message for her campaign, which is anti-homosexual. So good on them. I hope they do sue, and I hope they get they do get her for all she's worth. Although I don't think she's quite worth $1.2 million. Although her lawyer might be. And with that, Elias, thank you so much for chatting this week in LGBTI news. Of course, Star Observer magazine out next Thursday on the streets at the closest venue near you. Make sure you pick it up. It's going to be a bumper issue. And Elias, we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for having me on air.